All right. So also for Felipe from Brazil,
Yeah.
this is the second game against Troy.
Yeah,
Or
we have here the so-called revenge. We played after a few years a very strong tournament in Baden Baden in Germany. And that game was almost decisive. I had to win the tournament, so against Troyes. And we see the reverse situation. Here I had to be a little bit patient to win a game where I had a small advantage. I mean, white was better, but small advantage, not too big. So you see,
if
the
you are
reverse situation.
if you wait
Here,
and have
yeah,
patience, then
you played little by little, and finally, there's very good technique. You see, will show. Yeah.
okay.
So again, theory, this the so-called Old Indian. The Old Indian is when the bishop comes to e7, not to g7. If the bishop comes normally to g7, is the king's Indian. The opening.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So here after e4, bishop e7. Now the best line is bishop e2, castle, castle. All right. So here c6, rook e1. In that time, the best line for white and for black. I mean, the theory said that this is the best line. And here he played, this continuation was recommended by Larsen, and he had a lot of success with black, Grandmaster Larsen, I mean. The variation is not so bad because now he wants to push very quickly to b5, you see, and then put the bishop in b7. Okay, has all the black pieces are out, they can play quite well, and the game is more or less even, let's say. So now you have to take a decision, because if you play very quickly a4, for instance, to stop b5,
Yes.
then black has time to push a5. Afterwards, he has time to take in d4 and comes with very strong knight to c5. And the game is more or less all right for black, if he arrives to this. So now the best line is to play simply a3, b5, b4. But again, now you see, it seems excellent for white, quite good for black. The game is, almost even, a little bit better for white all the time. So he continues, of course, bishop b7. Now I took in e5, good. Now has to take a decision. If he took back with the pawn after c5, the advantage is small but clear for white, If he took with the pawn, So okay, he took with the knight, it's time to trade one piece. It's important for black because he's a little bit worse. He tries to, to
Equalize.
to free himself a little bit. Yeah. Okay, knight takes is good. Now takes, okay, bishop e3. Okay, small advantage for white. Not too much, but okay, a little. Yeah.
So you didn't change the queen?
No, I accepted the fact that he can trade the queens. Okay,
Yeah.
he took in d1, of course. No, I took there. And now he took in, no, he played immediately a5. Yeah, a5.
A5.
I took an a5. It's the only way to play, like this. Otherwise, the advantage is too small, You have to complicate, to give him. It seems that now black has a chance, because now you give him immediately the chance to hope to attack the pawn, the pawn from a3, and therefore has a normal game like this, But in reality, white is better all the time, I tell you, small advantage, but all the time better for white, you see. And you see very quickly how. So here f3 is very strong, and now he took in c4 and he proposed draw. It seems that here black has equality almost, because now if you take in c4, he has time to take back in a3. Okay, a little bit better for white, but very little,
Yes.
Yeah. So now the only way to try to do something is to play a4. So probably he didn't see, or he underestimated a little bit this move, if he saw it,
But why he didn't took from the beginning?
He could take immediately. Then,
Yes.
if he takes immediately, white can take, of course, and then take in b5 again a little bit better, because comes with tempo, When he take back in b5, he takes like this. Now you can take, yeah, he can take, and knight takes b5. You attack, and the only move is to play bishop b5. And now after rook b1, for instance, is very complicated, always better for white, because it's a little bit unpleasant for him, here.
Yeah.
white pieces attack from all over the world,
Yeah.
the board. So, okay, so he took in c4, but it seems it's very little, if you take back in c4, rook takes a3, okay, more or less even. Huh? And now it's move by move, a4, patient like this, small advantage. And now, excellent move, probably this he didn't see, knight a2. You attack with tempo the bishop, now he has to go back, Only, what did he play? Only in e7.
But he cannot take the pawn here with the
No,
rook?
if he takes, he loses the exchange, because now you take with the knight in b4 and then bishop c5. This is the trick.
Okay, okay.
This
Yes.
is the trick. And then he's winning for white, Exchange up and better pieces and so on. So he has to go back. And now white has time to attack immediately the bishop, with the same ideas. The rook had a bad position in a5. And you attack the bishop, and now has to take a decision what to do. Has to protect the bishop from b7. It's not good to come back to a6, for instance, because after knight c3, you threaten bishop b6, and he almost loses the bishop. Very bad. If not, the pawn comes very quickly. You see. So okay, here, what did he play here? Bishop c8. He tries to protect the bishop from c8 to e6, or in meantime to attack very quickly the pawn from a4 again, So now again, knight b4 with tempo. Now again, if you take him before, now after rook takes, and later on white takes back the pawn, two bishops, and the pawn a, comes very quickly, as usual. The pawn A and the pawn H are very dangerous, So okay, starting from here, black has a bad position, probably almost lost, here. So what did I play? Now I took in c4. Now again, he attacked twice the pawn, and here quietly knight d3. Now, if you take the pawn, again, very bad, because you have a very, very passive position. Now takes. Maybe probably rook d8 check. b8 check. Now has to put a piece in f8. He's lost immediately after bishop c5.
Yes.
Has to put a piece in e8, for instance. And now after knight takes e5, can resign. Yeah. Everything is attacked. The knight, the bishop, the pawn from f7, terrible.
Yes.
So he has to accept the game continuation, which is bad also for black. So here probably black is in big trouble, in this position. But you have to realize with a very good technique, you see, and we'll see how. Yeah.
So he's defending the pawn here.
Yeah, he has to, And now white has time to defend, Now you see the difference. White has the pawn A, black has the pawn C. If white has time to attack once the rook from a5, he has to go back with the rook, and white has time to push. When you have time to push to a5, it's lost for black, because the pawn is free and comes very quickly, Therefore, so it's a very big difference, between the two pawns, and big activity. You see, all the black pieces are in defense, all the white pieces are attacking. You see, very big initiative for white. You see, but little by little, almost from nothing. You see, very small advantage. So bishop d2, and now. What did I play? Bishop f3 or bishop c3, yes. And now he realized that he's losing the pawn e5. There's no defense. But you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And of course, c5, the best counterplay. Now again, very good move, bishop d5. Attacking the rook, he has to go to d8. And now white pushes the pawn, I told you. Push, and this is already winning for white, You see, the position is almost Zugzwang. Why? Because he loses in every position, he loses by force the central pawn e5. If he loses the pawn e5, every endgame is completely lost for black, So the continuation is almost forced. Knight c7, bishop c4, of course. Now he played bishop e6, at least he can trade something, So I took there, he took, and now it's very simple. Knight takes, he took, I took. what did he play? Bishop f6, bishop g3, knight d4, the last hope, and bishop f2. Very, very quiet. But every endgame is completely winning. So now we see the realization. Very simple. Bishop takes, c takes, rook b5. Now what is the idea? The pawn a5 is untouchable. He can't do anything. But instead, white can attack very quickly the central pawn d4. King f1, king e2, king d3. So in a few moves, black will lose the game, by force. So he played d3, king f2, rook there, and now the best, rook d5, the simplest way. So now he has to take, I took, what did he play? d2, okay, king e2, check there, I took with the king, and rook d7. He takes the pawn back, but it's too late, So now a6. So check, king c2, rook d8, otherwise queen, a7, rook a8, and king d3, and black resigned, of course.
Resigned.
Yeah. White king is coming, So everybody knows how to win this, even a weaker player like that. But the game was nice, not too complicated, but very good technique, Almost from nothing, white could realize a very nice win, It's okay. I won the game, I won the tournament, okay. The small revenge was there, but it was a little bit late, of course. Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It was better to lose this one and win Riga.
The one qualification. Maybe for him also was better like that.
Yeah, okay, because here he had a small chance to do something in this tournament. There he had no chance at all, in Riga. Okay. But it's life, what can you say?
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're